Imagine that you're taking care of someone that you love and you've been taking care of them with a terminal illness for years. And it's a full-time job, having to go to the doctor's appointments, make the doctor's appointments, making sure they have the hospital bed set up in the living room, making sure they have all the diabetic medication they need, all the high blood pressure medication, all the things that they need on a daily basis. And their care is 100% depending on you taking care of them. And you do it for years, you do it for months, you do it for days. Every minute, all you're thinking about is them. You're constantly doing the research on the internet. Every conversation you have is about their health. Everybody's checking in, they're asking about their health. And then your person dies. And instead of feeling grief, you absolutely feel relieved. Relieved that the pain is over. Relieved at the fact that you don't have this full-time job anymore. Is it okay to allow this feeling of relief and rest into your heart and soul?
1,000% yes. 1,000%. We teach two things. The first is that grief is the conflicting feelings. It is conflicting feelings. It is, oh my God, he's dead. I'm sad, but also, thank God he's gone and he's not suffering. And I felt that with our dad. He was transitioning for 2 weeks and it was the most miserable 2 weeks watching it. So I 100% felt that. The other thing we teach is whatever shows up is okay, whatever it is, because we can't control. We're human. We don't get to pick, go through the list of emails and go, oh, that one. This is the one I choose. Okay, I'm going to feel this one. We have to roll with whatever shows up, and whatever shows up is okay. So that is why I say 1,000% yes.
So, but sometimes people get the relief, and then what immediately follows it, they're going to call it guilt. How'd you know where I
The
was
G
going?
word. The
The
G
G
word.
word. They're going to call it guilt, but you and I both know it's regret.
Yeah.
And we help them through that, understanding that it's regret. We're going to feel guilty about that feeling relief. The other thing is, when we're telling our true grief story, right? Part of our true grief story is saying, I'm glad that he's gone. I'm glad that he's not suffering anymore. But who have you ever heard say that?
No one says that. It's frowned upon. It is
You
frowned
would be locked up.
We just talked about the judgments that are out there. You would be judged.
But the truth is, you would be relieved. So our daddy was transitioning for 2 weeks, like you said. I distinctly remember standing at the end of that hospital bed in his bedroom and praying the prayer to God, please take him.
Mhm.
Dear God, please end his suffering. Please take him onto heaven with you. You're going to be better at taking care of him. I can't stand to see him like this anymore. He'd been in a coma for 3 days. He wasn't talking. He was losing a massive amount of weight. It looked perceived to us as suffering, right? And 2 days after he passed, instantly I was hit with the regret
Mhm.
of praying that prayer.
Yeah. Well, and he wasn't talking, but then every time we had to turn him to prevent the sores and whatnot, he would scream in pain. So he couldn't talk, but it was painful. And
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I forgot that part.
that's it was so traumatizing
Yeah.
to look at our big dad, our strong protector, the man that struck fear in the hearts of every boy that stepped on that porch.
Yeah, poor guys.
To see him reduced to that was it was miserable, and I'm sure it was miserable for him to be going through that. So, but yes, because then when you don't have it anymore, I think we get so caught up in the wanting him to have peace and not suffer, but then the minute he's gone, at least he was still here. We could still touch him and talk
Yeah.
to him, and his physical presence in some way he was there is a comfort to some people. For some people, it's so hard for them to let go, and they can't say, I don't want him to be suffering. They don't care whatever it takes to maintain their existence. It's like you see those court cases all the time where the family members are fighting on whether or not to pull
Turn
the
off.
plug on someone who's been in a vegetative state for years. And it's like you understand, because yes, no one wants to make that final goodbye and no one wants to make that decision. But on the other hand, the quality of life that is being impaired when our father was full of life and laughter, you don't want to see him in that state. So there's so many emotions that are conflicting.
Right.
So many. But and I don't know if we've talked about this before. I can't remember if we talked about this on a podcast. We were arguing. I was arguing. I was going against the grain and begging everyone to leave him alone so that he could say make his final transition, because I did not want to have that. And so I didn't get the sense of regret because I didn't want to see him like that anymore. I just couldn't watch it any longer. So I don't know if where that put me in that mindset, but it was just truly wanting him to be at peace, knowing the amount of, not just with the final cancer that took his life, but his overall health struggle for like the 10 years prior. You know what I mean?
No. Um, the immediate regret is about, for me, the immediate regret was actually praying the prayer.
Right.
But the second part of the immediate regret was that I actually thought I would get relief. I thought I would be relieved that he had transitioned, as opposed to this pain that I felt. And hear me out on this. And this is the difference between intellectual grief and emotional grief. When I'm standing there at the end of the bed and I'm praying to God, please take him, I think in my mind that I am praying from my heart and from my emotions and from my love, but it's really my brain wanting to cease all pain immediately.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's the difference of the emotional versus the intellectual grief. And so when you're sitting there and you're praying this and thinking you want it to be relief, that's intellectual.
Yeah.
What happens 2 or 3 days later when that instant regret hits you? That's the emotion part. That's
Yeah.
because your body is now flooded with the emotions, correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Because the first thing we do is go to our brain. The first thing we want to do is make this make sense. Help me
Yes.
understand why this is happening to me. What just happened? He was here and I was ready for him. And now I'm messed up because I want him back. So yeah, you're just going through this whole cycle. But I think so many times we're so hard on ourselves when we lose someone in that situation and we feel the relief. Or let's take it to this step. What if you're the parent of a child that has a substance abuse issue
Yeah.
and they die by overdose?
Yeah.
I've heard that it is common for there to be a sense of relief because at least you don't have to worry about them anymore. You don't have to worry about getting the phone call that they're in jail or that they've hurt someone or that they've hurt themselves. You know what I mean? It's like that process you go through night after night. At least you know where they are.
Yeah.
That they're not suffering with this
Yeah.
addiction any longer. They have peace.
Yeah. It's the same with someone who threatens to do death by suicide over and
Yes.
over again. When you know they've threatened that, or they've made 2 or 3 attempts and it was unsuccessful, there is this aspect of relief that, I'm going to say it is absolutely beautiful for the griever to have that sense of relief. I know where they are, and I can sit here and tell you 100% intellectually that they are no longer suffering.
Mhm.
The problem with us as a society is that we don't give people the space to say that. So it suddenly comes out like this. hoping no one hears it, but they say it.
Yeah.
If you guys are anywhere, if anyone tells you that, just accept it for what it is. It's their relief, and it's okay to feel relief. I
Yeah.
think anything more than anything, we need to give people permission. It's okay to feel relief. It's okay to feel relief. Looking back on our dad right now, I'm glad he went when he went, and it didn't take 6 weeks or 8 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in just the 2 weeks, seeing the change and the deterioration and the pain, it's you want who wants to see their father? We're daddy's girls. All of the daughters are daddy's girls. Who wants to see him go through that? Like that, you don't want to wish that on anyone.
Yeah,
So, we need to start normalizing the talking about grief, which is our number one mission, but two, normalizing the concept that people shouldn't be penalized for saying they feel relief that their loved one is no longer in pain and suffering.
I love that.
I do
I
too.
really do. Because the truth is, if I had a drug addiction for years on end and I couldn't get it together, yeah, as a mother, I could see me going there with my
Yeah.
child. And like, at least now I know where she is. I'm not up at night. And that's so true because um, I don't know about you, but when my kids are all adults. And when they're gone from me and they're living their life as adults, they're in their 40s and 30s, they're in there living their life. I'm like, good. I sleep, no problem. But let one of them come to visit me and go out with some friends. I like at night, it's just that mama's heart. You just wake up.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll say to them, hey, could you just text me when you get in? Or can you let me know you're coming home? Like they're 40 years old and I just need to know. I'm like, because I know I'm going to wake up at midnight. And of course, they think I'm crazy, but they do it to help me out. There were times when my daughter was in Hawaii and she's like, yeah, we're going to a nightclub, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, can you just text me when you get home just so I know? Like she wasn't even in the state, but so being a mom never ends.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
His
And
heart never ends.
to watch your child or even your sibling or no matter who it is have this addiction, knowing they can't help it, it's a disease, you know what I mean? It's like they have to feed that beast with whatever substance is
Yeah.
the thing. You don't want to see, it's a form of suffering.
Yeah.
You're watching them suffer right in front of your eyes and physically decline because their beautiful skin is now scarred, and the teeth, there's a physical transformation that's not pleasing to watch. That has got to be normalized to say, I'm glad that she's free of that beast
Yeah.
of the addiction.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you this question and then I'm going to follow with something. Is it okay to feel relief when your loved one dies and they're no longer suffering? Just saying, I'm at peace.
1,000%.
So you can feel that relief when you've taken care of someone for a long period of time. You can feel that relief when someone struggled with a drug or alcohol addiction for a long period of time. You can feel that relief if they were a runaway and you didn't know where they were and you searched for them for years and now to come find out that they have passed on. You can feel that relief then. You can feel the relief when someone dies by suicide and they've suffered with depression or mental illness for years. You can feel the relief then. And it is absolutely okay. However, in a partner situation, one of the partners may feel relief and the other one may not. And that can cause a problem.
Right.
When you say, I feel comfort knowing that my son is okay. And the dad's like, well, and they try to judge your grief or your relief. Can
Mhm.
absolutely happen.
Yeah, with when Austin passed away, Lewis used to say, um, I can't remember the exact words, but not that he wasn't grieving, but that he knew where his son was. His son was in heaven, and so he was in a better place, and he felt fine with that. And I was like, no, not me. I do
Yeah.
not feel fine with that. His place is here with me. I am his mother. He was 10 years old. His place is here. And it really bothered me that he would say that. So we were at odds on that thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very much at odds.
Which is just a thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is just a thought, which is
Right.
intellectual grief, and it's just a thought. So that's huge. Did you guys ever fight about it?
No, because for people who know our story, we were separated and we were just coming back together. So we knew areas to avoid, and we avoided talking about our grief like the plague. We never spoke about it. We never spoke about it to each other. I spoke about it with you, spoke about it with my coworkers that I became really close friends with. Lewis and I never talked about it. We talked about Austin all the time. We did not talk about our grief.
So one of the things in that situation right there is that you have to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Because it's okay for him not to it's okay for him to feel the relief of knowing where his son was. And it was equally okay for you not to have relief and saying, I don't care where he is, he should be here with me. I'm his
Mhm.
mother. So the two different aspects. Both of them were okay. We can literally say that both of them were okay. And you will find in a family that some people might feel the relief and some people might not feel the relief.
Right. Right.
The other thing is, like in my case, the relief may be there for a couple of days and then it'll fade away. And that's true too.
Mhm.
So the most important thing is whatever is coming up for you, just let it be there and be okay with whatever shows up with you for you today.
Right. And you
That is
should not
relief.
feel, I'm sorry, you
Go
shouldn't
ahead.
feel judged. You should not feel judged. You shouldn't be worried, because this is one thing, people are going to judge you whether you say you feel relief or not. They're going to judge your grief. They, for a society of people that walks around preaching we shouldn't judge, we're the judgiest judge duties of all judgment. We are. We judge everything.
Judge you go.
So don't worry about what people are going to think, because they're going to think whatever they want anyway. What's most important is that you are speaking your truth and acknowledging what you need to for yourself and your own healing.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. I agree. Be okay with whatever shows up for you. Okay. And then I have one more thought, and that is this before we leave, is that you don't have to share that relief with anybody.
Right.
Just because you hear Sharon and Erica on Healing Starts with the Heart say that you should go out and talk about your relief, don't do it if it's not safe, because people aren't going to understand it.
Right.
It's okay for you to just, you can journal about it. If you don't have any place to share, write a letter to your loved one and talk about that relief. It's okay to share that relief that you're having with your loved one. You don't have to share it with the world. By all
Right.
means, people aren't going to understand it, and they're going to attack you because of it. And why have that suffering? Just know that
Right.
it's okay for you to feel that. It's okay for you to have it. And you don't have to tell anybody.
Well, but one place to share that you've been ending all of our podcasts with, and I'm just going to take it over this time, is in our Facebook group.
Yeah.
We have an amazing group of women that hold space for each other. And thankfully, knock on wood, we have not had to, talk people like about saying things or giving advice, because they are all grievers.
Yeah.
So they have all been on their own grief journey. So that's a great safe place to share. And the link is going to be in the notes below.
Yep. Absolutely. Bye, friends.